Welcome back to the channel. If this is the first time on my YouTube channel, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel because I do content like this all the time. And then if you like what you're seeing right now, feel free to give this video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the topic at hand. And this time, I want to talk about some big issues in the gaming industry. Now, I've already covered these issues before, but I really think we have to cover them again just due to the fact these issues have been coming up recently and it is annoying and something has to be done. Whether it's affecting you now, it's probably going to affect you in the future if you're into video games and you buy a lot of things digitally or you just buy games in general. One way or another, unfortunately, it looks like this is going to actually affect you in the future, and it's really annoying, and something does need to be done because one day it's going to happen to all of us and it's going to be a sad future. So let's get right into the video. First and foremost, I want to discuss the Wii Shop. So as you guys know, Nintendo did shut down the Wii Shop many years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So it's been quite some time. You can actually access the Wii Shop to actually buy anything new on the Wii Shop. It's pretty much shut down, but Nintendo did make a promise that stated, for as long as we allow it, will allow you to basically re-download any games you previously bought on your Wii. If you bought games on your Wii, you could re-download them. And Nintendo did say that they were actually going to keep it up until they actually stated a date where they would shut down the Wii Shop forever, and that's including re-downloading all your old purchases. But it looks like recently people have been trying to actually access all their previously purchased games on the Wii Shop, and it looks like they're not able to actually access the Wii Shop. So it's kind of like the Wii Shop is permanently dead, whether you're trying to buy new games or whether you're trying to re-download old purchases you may have bought on your Wii. It looks like you cannot access those as well, and it's really frustrating just due to the fact that a lot of people pay for these games. You may be paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for these games, and also the fact that Nintendo did say that they were going to tell us before they shut down the eShop completely on the Wii, and this is just absolutely ridiculous and absolutely frustrating for so many people out there. You have to realize people, again, are spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on games. Sure, it's really not the end of the world, to be honest, because there's always a way to play games that you may have bought, especially if you go back to the Wii. A lot of games on the Wii in particular, not all of them, but there were a lot of games on the Wii that were old retro games, so of course those games still exist today in some form or fashion. But there are a couple of games on the Wii that never really got outside of the Wii, like for instance a couple of Castlevania games, I do believe, and a lot of people like actually playing those games, and it's unfortunate those games are pretty much dead unless you want to do things like hacking and emulation and things like that to really get around the fact that the Wii Shop is no longer in access. But the bigger problem here is the fact that you're paying your hard-earned money for a lot of these games. It's kind of like in real life, if you go to, let's say, a store and you buy a piece of clothing, or you buy a toy, or you buy pretty much anything at a store, you pretty much get to keep it for the rest of your life unless it gets damaged, it gets stolen, and things like that. But that's not necessarily, and it's not the case for a lot of digital purchases. And it's not just video games as a whole, it's pretty much a lot of other digital purchases, whether it's music, whether it's apps on an app store, whether it's programs on like different platforms. It's just so annoying if something happens to, let's say, the server or licensing issues or whatever the case may be, your purchases can just be gone. I know a lot of people out there are like, yeah, you do know it is pretty much you're pretty much running the risk of buying your games digital. You do know you may lose your purchases forever, and you should already know that before you buy the game. But here's the thing. A lot of games, unfortunately, in today's world are only digital purchases, so it's not like you can not buy the game. If you want to play a certain game, sometimes you have to only buy it digital because they're an indie game. And you know, a lot of times some indie games don't get a digital or don't get a physical release, and that can absolutely be frustrating for a lot of people out there, me, myself included, knowing that our purchases are just not guaranteed to stay around forever, and it is a shame. What makes digital purchases different than something like a physical good at a store? Because again, we're paying our hard-earned money for these games that are digital only, and it kind of sucks that it kind of feels like we are getting robbed in these situations. Now, we don't know for sure at the time of this recording, we don't know what's going on with the Wii Shop and not allowing you to re-download your past purchases on your Wii. So maybe Nintendo will actually fix that. Maybe Nintendo forgot about it. Maybe Nintendo getting more aware of it, because these videos are starting to surface around the internet and more people are getting aware of it and things like that. But it's really just not a good look in the gaming industry and for the digital future of video games, and it should scare you even if you don't buy digital games today and you still buy your games physically, because one day, I guarantee you, one day there's going to be a day where we only buy our games digital, or we only stream from the cloud, or whatever the case may be, and you're going to have to buy games some way, and most likely you'll be buying games digital, and then one day you might want to play one of your old games and it just won't be there. And again, some people spend hundreds if not thousands of dollars on video games, so it's just a very scary future we live in. I know I've talked about this many times on my channel, and other people have talked about this as well, but it just seems like this just keeps coming up time and time again, and it's just so frustrating for so many different reasons. We shouldn't have to do this, and I'm sure a lot of companies out there can afford to keep these servers up and afford to allow you to download your games. It's not like they don't have a lot of money in the bank. They do have a lot of money in the bank. They just want to shut it down because they probably just don't want to maintain it, and they probably just assume, oh yeah, there's nobody who really wants to access an old shop on an old video game console. You look at the Wii, it's already a couple of generations old at this point, but like I said again, there are times where you do want to actually re-download some of your old purchases, and it can be frustrating. Now moving on to something else that's kind of actually related to this whole eShop closure, people not being able to access their previously bought downloads that Nintendo promised. There's another problem going on in the gaming industry, and that's DRM, or just online connected games, because recently we did have a problem with Gran Turismo 7. Gran Turismo 7 is a fantastic game, but it looks like from a lot of people out there complaining, it is pretty much confirmed that you do have to be online all the time to actually play the game. And the bad part about GT7 being online all the time is the fact that if they do maintenance on the game that you cannot have any control over, and even if your internet's still connected, your PlayStation is still connected to the internet, you just flat out cannot play the game. And that has to be very frustrating, just specifically due to the fact that Gran Turismo 7 is a $70 game. It's not like some free-to-play game on mobile where it's like, yeah, I kind of understand it's a free-to-play game, it has to be connected all the time, I didn't pay any money for this game, if I buy microtransactions, it's kind of my deal, or whatever the case may be. But knowing the fact that Gran Turismo 7 is a $70 game is just absolutely insane, especially considering you may not have any control over something like maintenance going on. And apparently this maintenance was quite lengthy, and a lot of people were pissed off. And not only did Gran Turismo 7 actually have maintenance to where you couldn't play the game, I think there are a couple of things you can do if you don't have connection to the servers, or if they're doing maintenance, or your internet's offline, but 99 or 98% of the game is unplayable, so you might as well just call the game useless at that point, which is just ridiculous and insane. They really need to fix that ASAP, because DRM protection just is not a good look, and especially when you're paying so much money for these games, something definitely has to be done. But alongside that, Gran Turismo 7 does have another issue. They actually raised the prices for a lot of their cars in the game, and that game was already littered with microtransactions in the game. That's something that Gran Turismo 7 has, but that game does have quite a few problems at this very moment, and I know the backlash for Gran Turismo 7 is real at this very moment. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about those two things, because it is getting kind of ridiculous that our digital purchases just seem like one day they're just going to disappear, and it only seems like it's getting worse through time. And most companies, it looks like, just do not care about the digital future, or preserving these games on these storefronts, which is insane and ridiculous. And something has to be done, because me as a person really want something to be done. I think most people agree something does have to be done. And then the DRM situation and things like always on connected games, something has to be done, but it looks like nothing's going to be done. And you can guarantee in the near future more and more games are going to be online connected games, where you have to have internet connection to like make sure that you own the game, make sure that you're playing the game and things like that, and they want to make sure people aren't hacking the game, or more specifically, people aren't playing illegal copies of the games and things like that. That's primarily why things like this happen, and it's not the first time things like this have happened in the gaming industry, and it's just freaking out of control, and something really does have to be done. I think all of you guys would agree. It just seems like it's getting worse and worse and worse. I don't want to come on camera and actually talk about these things that actually frustrate me in the gaming industry. I want to come on here one day and say, yes, the digital future is not a future that's going to be scary. It's going to be a future where you don't have to worry about your purchases. Just know everything's going to be fine, and everything that you buy you'll be able to use for like the rest of your life, or at least for the next 20 years. But that doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, sadly, and it's just frustrating, and it does suck, and it sucks specifically for gamers and things like that. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.